to today's 7 on Sunday. I'm so excited because today is the second of like a pair of topics here, because today we're going to be talking about our most dissatisfying endings. So just the endings of books where they didn't give us what we wanted, or they were too open-ended, which is something that I get really irritated with, or just characters made decisions that you didn't like, or maybe like there was characters that could have died and you hated the ending. Like there's so many reasons for books to have bad endings, and it is so sucky because most of the time you never get to know what else happens to these characters. Like if there's a bad ending but then you get a prequel, it does work out a lot better. Like you feel a lot better about it, but it's so annoying when you just have so many hopes and these endings are so bad. And if you didn't know, 7 on Sunday is run by Grace over at G-Swizzel, so I highly recommend you going and checking her out and following her and subscribing to her. And I will also leave a link down below to the Goodreads page, which has all the topics and all the stuff that you need to follow along and to enjoy. And I hope you're just excited to get into this topic. Now, I know that this is for books, but I am gonna chuck in 2 TV shows in my list today because there is 2 series that ended really shit and I have to talk about it. So the first one is Lost. So I feel like so many people watch Lost, we're all excited, and I literally watched Lost from the first episode that aired on TV. So I was watching it once a week on TV with my family, and my brother used to only come and visit for 1 day a week, and it was always on the night that Lost was on. So we'd always be able to sit there and theorize and think of things that were going on, because literally every episode some shit was going on and something different happened, and like there was time travel, and then there was something else happening, and then something happened on the island, and then the characters knew each other, and like the flashbacks. Like it was such a good show, and for the first 5 seasons it was still so good. Like it never had a lag, it never had a time when it stopped being good. But when the show got cancelled, which I don't understand why, the 6th season just got really rushed and weird storylines were happening, and it ended up just being really weird. Like the ending still doesn't make sense to me, like because they had to rush it. As I said, I think they had a plan to have a lot more seasons so that they could have done this with a lot more progression, but the ending still just irritates me so much. Like as I said, the first 5 seasons I have so much fun watching them, but the last one, just because of the cancellation, they just killed it. They really ruined the heart of what the show was about. It was so different, and it just really irritated me that it ended the way that it did. And the other one I feel like is probably going to be something that irritated a lot of people, but Game of Thrones. The first 7 seasons were so good, and then what happened in the 8th season? Like I watched that episode by episode as it came out. It's one of those shows that gets spoiled the second anything happens, but I'm just so frustrated. Like why did they do that to so many of the characters? Like no one had good endings. So many things just weren't what I wanted them to be, and everything got rushed. Like there was so much build up throughout the whole entire course of the series of, you know, waiting for the White Walkers to come and waiting for winter to come. It was all just too rushed, and there were so many times that I just didn't think characters got the satisfaction that they deserved, and none of the deaths were meaningful to me, and it just killed it. Like the show got completely decimated, and I just hated that that happened. I'm sure the books did better, but also for the fact that the last book hasn't come out yet, and I doubt he's ever going to release that book, but if it does get released, at least hopefully people will be able to read the ending as it should have been, because it really stuffed it that when the writers had the source material but then they caught up with the release of the books and they just went off on their own tangent, was the worst decision they ever made. On to actual books. The first one I want to talk about is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I've never really enjoyed The Raven Boys, but I did read the whole series, but I just found that the whole time I was reading these books, I just thought it was very weird and confusing, and I just didn't really know what was going on. Like I honestly couldn't describe to you what these books are about because I don't even know, and I've read them. Like I just didn't like how it ended because just a lot of stuff was happening, and like I feel like it didn't really tie up anything for me. And I know that this is meant to be a very character driven book and about relationships and stuff, but there was things that I didn't even see coming because I didn't even know these people were friends or doing things together. And like I just wasn't a fan. I just felt like it was such a vague book that it ended and I wouldn't have even known, because I was so confused. I am gonna have to talk about Divergent by Veronica Roth though, because I just don't agree with the ending. I don't agree with what happened to a certain character, and it shitted me off, because this is a thing that had never happened in a book before for me. Like I didn't think this was a thing that could happen in a book. I understand that there is a lot of people that think this was a good thing and a lot of people think it was a bad thing. I'm just on the side of bad thing because it just really annoyed me. And then they had that novella collection about 4 that came out that didn't help the situation, and it's just like, why are you doing this to the story? What's happening here? And I'm pretty sure with the movies, because like I really enjoyed the first Divergent movie, but then the second one wasn't great, then the third one wasn't great, and they were meant to do like a TV movie, but I think the movie that they did release of the third one changed the ending anyhow, so it was like, okay. Yeah, it was just something I just didn't really enjoy. Next, I want to talk about The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. So Jenny Han is the author of To All the Boys I've Loved Before. That trilogy is gorgeous. I really enjoyed it, even though Peter Korinsky isn't the best character, but that was still a really cute trilogy. So I wanted to read the other trilogy that she wrote, and I read the first one and I hated it, but because these are such short contemporaries, I just finished off the trilogy because I was hoping it was going to get better, but I just hated the main character Belly, and her name's literally Belly, like it's short for something, but like she shitted me because this book is told in flashbacks and stuff, and there's 2 boys, 2 brothers, and she's in love with both of them, even though she's always liked Conrad more than Jeremiah, and I feel like she always strung them along, and Conrad was always being all like, I can't be with you, and just running off, and then there was a point where she was with Jeremiah, and then Conrad would come back and she was with Jeremiah, and I just hated how she just strung them along, and like I hated the ending because of how many people got hurt, because there was always going to be one dude that got hurt, but I didn't agree with who she picked because I liked the other guy because he was actually the nicer of the 2, but you always knew where it was going to go. But it's just one of those things where there was so much pain and hurt caused by this bitch. I just didn't care for the ending, and I just don't think any part of me would ever care for it, because you just don't do this to people. You just don't hurt them like this, girl. Next, I want to talk about The Maze Runner by James Dashner, and I will say I don't actually remember what happened in this book, but the first book was really good, same as how I really enjoyed the first movie, because it was a really fun time, and I actually wasn't that big of a fan of the books anyway. They are like a dystopian, and they do feel like the era of Divergent and Hunger Games, and there's more books that I clearly am not thinking of, but it just felt like they were all coming out kind of at the same time. But I feel like the conclusion, because there's like some disease or something and they've got to do something, but the conclusion of what the disease and everything was so underwhelming, I feel I remember. And was her name Tanya? Like the one that's the only female that's ever been there. I hated her because she pissed me off for something that she did in the second book, and then I just couldn't deal with her in the third book. Like, she shitted me. Whoever the girl is, like, it's not Tanya, is it Tamara? I feel like it was a T word or something for her name, but like she pissed me off. And then Thomas was doing some weird shit too, and I'm just like, what are you doing? And like there was just other things that the characters were doing that was really annoying. But I just feel like this was just such an underwhelming story for how it ended, and that's just not what you want. And the last thing I need to talk about is just the whole Lady Helen trilogy by Alison Goodman. So I love this trilogy, don't get me wrong, this is one of my favorites. I'm mainly putting it on this list because it's biased of mine, but I was just really annoyed that, like, because obviously with this book, like, it took a little while for them to realize that they kind of had feelings for each other, and he kind of liked her first, but then he couldn't really do anything about it because there's a lot of stuff going on, and like obviously with the time this book is set in, there's a lot of propriety issues and a lot of things that they have to deal with, and it's just like everyone thinks that he's a bad influence, so she wouldn't have been able to marry him, and then she's in promise to some other dude, and like as you can see, there's a lot of issues kind of happening. Something happens in the third book that pulls them apart again, and it was kind of like, oh, you know, is it ever gonna happen? As I'm reading it, I'm running out of page space, and then I was getting down to like the last 100 pages and nothing was really happening, and then the last 50 pages and nothing was really happening, and then I got to the last 10 pages and I'm like, what? Are they gonna get together? And it was literally like on the last page there was a semblance of maybe. And it just made me so hurtful because like I really wanted to see some more relationship. Like this is the one downfall, is obviously there is romance, but it is such a backseat. But like I wanted more. I wanted to know more. I would not be bad if there was another book or another trilogy or another character in this world who then can show us that they were married or in love or they did something. Like I just hate not knowing. Like this is what I mean with an open-ended story, is I absolutely love these books. I'm happy for everything that I've gotten from them, but where is the ending? Like I need to know what these characters are doing. Like it's killing me not knowing. Like how can you do this to me? So guys, that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoy. I mean, I really do love these topic ideas. It is really fun, but it's really hard to talk about without spoiling it. But it's like we can't have everything we ever want. Like, even though books can be amazing, as I said in the case of Lady Helen, there could always be something that irritates you. Like, there is books that are amazing from start to finish, books that are shit and have good endings. Like, you never really know what you're gonna get. But I hope you enjoyed this topic, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.